Hey, hi, hello, how you doing? So I think that we can all agree when I say that writing is extremely chaotic. Creative writing can go from very organized to pure hell and chaos within one writing session. We have all been there, we have all done it, and we have all wondered because of that why we started writing in the first place, because holy crap, this is a lot to sort out. Especially for beginner writers who finally stumble upon that moment of figuring out exactly how much organization writing takes. It can be incredibly overwhelming and daunting, speaking from experience. I myself would write a lot of stories but never edit them when I was like give or take 11, 12 years old. And as long as you don't go in and edit them, as long as you write it, never look at it again, it's not a lot of organization. But once you start to take a project more seriously, decide that you want to edit it and make it the best that it can possibly be, there is so much organization that comes looking with just one project, no matter if you even have multiple projects, and it gets even worse. I still struggle with organization myself at times, and over the years it has taken a lot of trial and error for me to figure out a system that actually works for me. I have found that there are 3 ways that most writers will always fall back on when it comes to writing, or at least that is what I have found, which is what we're going to be talking about today. So once you've decided that you're going to start writing, the number one thing that you're going to want to worry about is which writing software you're going to use. Many beginner writers start off with something like Word or Google Docs, which can still work really well, and there are many professional writers or authors who still swear by it who will never go to another writing software. However, a lot of writers, once they properly start writing and start editing, find that they want something that is a little bit more structured, a little bit more organized than Word or Google Docs. I'm not saying in any way, shape, or form that these are bad writing softwares. I don't think that there is such a thing as a bad writing software, purely because it is very much personal what you want in it and how you use it and the requirements that a good writing software has for you, which is why there are so many in the first place. However, with Google Docs and Word, and if you have a MacBook Pages, while it offers a lot of freedom, sometimes that amount of freedom can also be overwhelming. It's literally just a blank page with some options on how you can customize it as you go. For some that is helpful, for some it isn't. I know that for me personally, it didn't work when it came to larger projects. I could write a short story in Word. I think I've actually might have done it before, thinking of one specific one, but I'm honestly not sure if I actually stuck to it for the entire process. But I could do it with a short story if I wanted to. Anything bigger than that, and I personally would need something that is more organized for the sake of my own sanity. The good thing about Word and Google Docs is that it is fairly simple, so if you're someone who doesn't have a need for higher organization when you're writing, it can actually work really, really well. But again, I personally couldn't see myself doing it with larger projects, because a larger project automatically also requires more organization. And there are definitely some programs that help with that. The one that I personally use, which is my favorite writing software of all time, is Scrivener. Before I used Scrivener, I used a program that was kind of a knockoff of Scrivener. They're claiming that they're not, but it was a complete knockoff. So, and I used that program because I didn't have a MacBook and I wasn't a fan of the Windows version of Scrivener at the time. I've heard that it has improved since then and is actually really nice to use now. Just the one that they had at the time wasn't that great, so I used a knockoff of Scrivener because I couldn't actually use Scrivener. It is one of the most popular writing softwares that are out there. However, people tend to either love it or absolutely hate it. Even though I use a program myself, I can see why people would not like it. It's a lot when you first get into Scrivener, and it definitely has a high learning curve. There are people who spend the whole day when they first use Scrivener looking at the, not tutorial, oh my god, at the guide? Biggest brain fart in the world. Oh my god, what is it? Oh my god, manual. There are people who, when they first download Scrivener, who spend 8 hours looking at the manual to properly understand how it works. There are more comprehensive guides out there on the internet, which I personally would say use those and not the one that Scrivener provides, because it is way and way too complicated for how simple it actually is once you understand what you're doing. I have used Scrivener for, I think, over 2 years now, and I still personally haven't discovered every single feature of it. I still come across something from time to time where I'm like, okay, what is that? What does it do? I haven't seen that before. Now, to be fair, I didn't read the full manual or looked up another guide online. I just kind of went the fuck around and find out about. I just started writing, and if there was a feature I didn't understand, I just looked up the feature. And that ended up with a lot of dead documents that I ultimately deleted, as well as a lot of mistakes in formatting that now I would absolutely cringe at if I ever opened those documents again. Luckily I can't because they're all deleted, but my point still stands. So I don't recommend taking the route that I took. I would say sit down, take your time, and actually look up what you're doing. The good thing about Scrivener is that it offers a lot of organization while you're working in your manuscript. It has an outlining feature, it has scene cards, and a really easy to use binder that allows you to move around everything from whole parts of the book to chapters to scenes without having to copy and paste everything, which is really nice. You can also take snapshots of the scenes that you're writing, which is a feature that a lot of people actually don't know about. It takes a screenshot of the scene that you're currently working on in the state that it is right then and there. And if you decide, you know what, these edits that I'm doing or the changes that I've made, I don't like it, I would like to start over, you can just drag and drop that version of the scene back in and start all over. Scrivener, however, is more on the expensive side. It offers a free trial, but after that you have to pay $60 to have lifetime access, which I know is not doable for everybody. I got it for ish around $10 because I participated in NaNoWriMo. One NaNoWriMo, and one of the prices was a heavy discount on Scrivener, so I used that as an excuse to buy it after my free trial. The second one, which I kept seeing popping up in my research over and over and over, was Dabble. So Dabble, apparently, I have never used it before myself, but it is often compared to Scrivener because they share a lot of the same features. Obviously, it is not a complete copy. It does have features that Scrivener doesn't have. While Scrivener has scene cards that you can rearrange, Dabble has a full-on plot grid that allows you to much easier organize all of your scene cards and the actual scenes as well, which is a really handy tool if you are a heavy outliner. I personally wouldn't have much use for it because I'm a pantser, not a plotter, but I imagine if I was, that would be a very handy feature. Like Scrivener, it does allow you to set goals for your manuscript as well as daily goals, but it apparently, again, I have to say apparently because I've never used this before, it goes into a lot more detail with allowing you to even set the days where you want to work on the project, the days where you don't want to work on the project in more detail than Scrivener does. And it also has a co-author feature, so you can work with two people in the same document, which again, Scrivener does not allow you to do as far as I know. Who knows, maybe it's one of those features I will stumble upon in the next few years. It is more easy to use than Scrivener, and it certainly doesn't have a manual that you have to look at for 8 hours to fully understand what is going on and what you're looking at. However, it is also more limited in your formatting options, as well as the fact that it works on a subscription. From what I found, there are 3 tiers reaching from $9 to $29, with $29 a month unlocking all of the features that there are. It does offer a free trial, and of course you don't have to use the $29 option, but I know that if I go subscribe to something every month, I want to be able to have all of the features that that app or website offers, so the price would turn me away from Dabble. Campfire is a website that I have dabbled in before. Dabble. It is a tool specifically for world building and planning out your novel. I have never used it immensely because so far I haven't had the need for it. Writing thriller novels that, I don't need as much organization as someone who writes sci-fi or fantasy or historical fiction might need. I oftentimes am okay with a Google search compared to someone who writes that genre, who might need more information that they might need to look back on more regularly. It has a story planner tool that is perfect for outlining, character sheets that allow you to plan out your characters to the detail, which is one of the features that I have personally used with it. Absolutely fell in love. It is amazing. It even has a feature that allows you to make your own map. You don't see a lot of websites that have that, and especially, might I point out, that allows you to make 2 in the free version. I'm not even a fantasy writer and I get excited about that. There's even a separate tool for making your own language, if that is something that your book has, for religion, mythology, magic systems, and a whole bunch of other features. And the free version actually already allows you to do quite a lot. To give an example, with the character feature, you're allowed to make 10 characters and all the detail that you want for free with just a free version. 2 free maps, a whole magic system, a whole language, 3 story arcs, 2 whole religions, and 5 locations that your characters visit. That's the free version. There are monthly subscriptions as well as a higher price that you can pay to have lifetime access to everything. But the best part for me personally about Campfire is that you can choose exactly which features you want to have access to. So for example, if I want to have access to the character feature only unlimited, It's only $1 a month. If I want access to the story arcs, it's 75 cents a month. The map making tool is $1 a month as well. If you want access to everything, it is $14 a month or $140 a year. And that will then give you access for the whole year. I don't currently need it as much, but I know that I have a project coming up in the future where I might want this much organization, so this is definitely one that I'm going to consider using in the future. Just looking at all of this is getting me very excited to start on that project. And then the last one, which, I mean, I just gotta put it in here for funsies, is Focuswriter. Focuswriter for me has been helpful mainly because I very much struggle with staying focused on one single task. I get distracted incredibly quickly, especially if I'm working with a program that has a lot of features and then this and that. It has perks, it has its flaws. Focuswriter really takes it back to the basics, even more so than Word or Google Docs might. It was designed with focus in mind to offer a distraction-free environment while you write. This again can be very helpful if you are working on a short story or are just not very focused that day or are struggling with staying focused as you go. It still allows you to set daily goals. It has timers and alarms within the website. It has customizable themes. As well as a portable mode, which is really nice. And a feature that personally got me excited like a kid, it has typewriter sound effects. My neurodivergent brain was so happy, I can't even describe it to you. So, I'm just saying, even if it doesn't offer the most organization in itself, if you feel overwhelmed during writing or just need a place that is much more simple and less overwhelming, Focuswriter can be the way to go. It truly takes it back to the basics, and that at times can be just as helpful as when you are working in a document or software that has everything in it that you could want and more. Don't discount it just because it's simple, is what I'm saying. So the second thing that I want to talk about in terms of organizing is the number one mistake that I see new writers make, especially when it comes to organization, and that is not separating your documents properly. I'm also calling myself out here. I want to make that very clear. I am not just shitting on other people. I am very much making fun of myself when I'm talking about this. Please don't make the same mistakes that I did, because that was a very frustrating process to fix. Again, because I underestimated how much organization creative writing truly needs, I didn't think to create a separate space on my computer to put all of my writing related needs. And that later on caused a lot of problems with me losing a ton of documents that I still needed. At one point, losing my manuscript. I found it again, but that was a moment of panic that I never want to relive again. A lot of writers just put it all in one document, which is something I'm going to talk about later. But even then, you still need a ton of organization. First off, you want to create a separate space that is purely for your writing related needs. I know that some people also tend to put it on like a separate stick, which really works for them. I did it for a while as well. The problem is that I would slowly but surely destroy each and every single one of those SD sticks. Or lose them. and then have another panic because every single thing when it came to my writing projects was on there. So it doesn't personally work for me, but I know a lot of writers who do that. So they'll have a separate SD stick for every single project that they have, or if they mainly work on smaller projects, just one SD stick for everything. You could obviously also just keep it on your computer like I do. To be fair, the laptop that I have is mainly being used for writing, so I don't really need much space for anything else. I personally recommend making just a folder called writing, and then from there, separating everything by project, which again is something that a lot of beginner writers don't necessarily think about, especially if you haven't written multiple projects at once before. It's not really something that you would automatically think about until it becomes a problem. I use an abbreviation for every single one of my projects, so the way that I will also name them is that abbreviation, and then, for example, research on blank. And that way I immediately know which project a document belongs to if I somehow misplace it or it just turns up on my computer somewhere where it isn't supposed to be. A lot of people, when they first start to organize more of their writing, when they first have the need to do so, put everything that isn't their manuscript in one place, which again, I'll be talking about this later. It can work, but you need to be very organized when you do so. I personally recommend keeping everything separate from your outlines, research, character sheets, and this especially applies if you are working for that kind of organization like I do in Word or Google Docs or Pages. Now, to give an example with research, I tend to do a lot of research mainly because the books that I write, the stories that I write, focus very heavily on the themes that they're in there. They are very much not in the background. They are very much in the foreground. So I do a ton of research on a ton of different subjects. At the Mercy of the Devil currently has research on grief, substance abuse, OCD, psychosis, schizophrenia. Yeah, you can already tell the stories that I write. I have separate documents for each topic in terms of grief. So I have a separate folder called Research at the Mercy of the Devil. And under that, separate documents, research on grief, research on OCD, research on psychosis, research on substance abuse. For some people, it might be enough to have one document and just put everything in there, but for me, with the amount of research that I do, no, that doesn't really work for me. I don't like having one huge document because then I feel like everything can just get lost in there. So multiple smaller sized documents helps me more in the long run. And even if you are using writing programs like Campfire, I recommend making a list of all of the writing softwares that you use for which project and what information that they hold. That way you for sure don't lose anything, and having to go back and redo information, remake information, retype, and having to go back and retype information that exists somewhere on either the internet or in your computer because you can't find it, it takes away time that you could be spending with your manuscript, improving it, editing it, drafting. So it is truly a meticulous and very, very frustrating process when that happens, so you really just want to avoid that. So if you have a list of all of the softwares that you're using and the uses that it has for every specific project, because having multiple projects, things can also get confusing. You can just very easily go to that list, check where the specific piece of information is, and you're good to go, instead of having to scour your computer and all of these websites that you use when you're not exactly sure where you put it. I'm not speaking from experience here, I swear. So to recap, have a single space on your computer that is dedicated to your writing projects, and organize everything in there to the amount of detail that you feel like you need. And then the last tip, which I don't really want to call it a tip because I personally despise this so much, is book Bibles. I'm putting this in here because there are so many writers who swear by it as the number one organization tactic that they have. I could never. So a book Bible is essentially one document where you put every single thing related to your project. Everything from character sheets, outlines, research, magic systems, story arcs, places, and just everything that you could possibly need outside from the actual manuscript. These documents are often huge, especially if you're writing something like fantasy, because then you have all of the world building and the magic systems and the languages and yada 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 yada. Every single detail that comes up in your manuscript is in there somewhere. The reason that I don't use these is because I find them to just be incredibly overwhelming. Of course, you choose yourself how much you actually put in there, but even with that in mind, it is too overwhelming for me. I can't do it. A lot of people use writing softwares like Word, Pages, and Google Docs for it, because the idea is that you truly have complete control over what you put in there, how you organize it, and specifically what you do with that book Bible. A lot of people also tend to print them off, which I really don't understand why people do that, because a book Bible you regularly need to update. Any tiny change in your manuscript, you're gonna have to change that information also in your book Bible. And because book Bibles are often much more detailed than any other way of organizing, you're going to have to update it so much more regularly than if you just have separate documents on your computer. Because the whole purpose of book Bibles often is to have every single detail of your book in there and available to you. Now that can be helpful, and it would be helpful if a book Bible was something that updated itself. Sadly, it doesn't, which is where my problem with it comes into play. While it is very handy to have every single piece of information in your book in one place, updating it takes quite a lot of time. I tried having a book Bible once for actually my current main project at Mercy of the Dabble. I gave up so quickly because not only does it take quite a lot of time to set it up, but to keep it properly organized and updated. I found myself constantly thinking, if I just did this the way that I'm used to, I could be writing right now. I could be in my actual manuscript rather than sitting here and updating this book Bible. I also found myself not really looking at it. It just was too much for me to look at. It felt incredibly overwhelming and like I was doing too much. I just didn't feel that I personally needed that level of organization. Having a book Bible is very much a long-term commitment. You have to update the thing regularly for as long as you're working on the project. If you're having multiple projects and multiple book Bibles, it takes even more time. Many people who use a book Bible genuinely put time aside in their week to update it. They will go into their manuscript, look at every single piece of information that they've changed, added, or deleted, and go into the book Bible and change it. Now, if that is something that works for you, absolutely go for it. You will never see me use it. Not without me ending up in an insane asylum in the process. If you do decide to use a book Bible for the first time, I know that there are templates out there that can help you get started to set one up. There will also be a link in the description to one of those templates. What I will say is if you decide to use a book Bible, try it maybe first with a smaller project like a novella or a short story. I know that many people have short stories that take place in the same universe. If you have that, maybe try it for that. I don't recommend trying it if it's your first time using it with a massive project like a novel. Now, for how bad I am talking about it, I am very much trying not to. I'm not saying that it is a bad tool. I want to make that very clear because there are writers who genuinely also die on that hill of book Bibles being their saving grace, who could not write a story without also having a book Bible. And I respect that. Absolutely. If a book Bible is something that works for you, if a book Bible is something that helps you stay organized, go for it. There are many writers who love book Bibles, so it can work. There are many writers out there who say that it works. So it's not a bad tool. I just personally can't do it. If you are someone who needs or wants all of their information in one place, a book Bible might be something to look into. Just make sure that you also have the time to properly update it and spend time with it, because otherwise it's not going to be helpful. I would rather lose my actual manuscript than use a book Bible. It's a hill I will die on. There are obviously more things that come with organizing your writing, which I can talk about. I just didn't want to put all of those facts and methods in one video and only have a teeny tiny amount of time to write about them, because organizing your writing can be quite hard, especially in the beginning. So I wanted to be able to give these methods and these points its fair amount of time to talk about. So if you do want more tips, let me know and I will make a second part to this where I talk about these things. All of the links that I used for planning this video are, like always, in the description box underneath this video, so that you can go check everything out yourself, as well as the template for the book Bible. That is also going to be in one of the links. I'm going to have to see which one that is, and I will put along with that link specifically that is the link that holds the template for the book Bible. I will also put links to each of the writing softwares that I mentioned so you can easily find them and see for yourself if these are ones that you want to try out. So I hope that this video was helpful to some of you. If you even got a single tip or trick from this video that you think might be helpful, I am happy. I myself have some organizing to do when it comes to my current project, so I am going to do that. And then I hope that you have a great rest of your day. I hope that you can get some writing in, that you can get some organizing in, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.